So, hello everybody. My name is Ales Rebec, and in the name of Drupal Slovenia Association, I would like you to welcome to Drupal Camp Alpe-Adria. So, sponsors. Without sponsors, this event wouldn't happen. So, big thanks to OWS for gold sponsorship, for diamond sponsorship, Montanasoft for gold sponsorship, and Enki, D-Labs, Genomics, Online Perspectives, and Gimnazia Piran for bronze sponsorship, and others. So big round of applause for the sponsors. And also, this event wouldn't happen without the organization team, and you can notice them wearing the green t-shirts all around the place. So please, one big applause for all the guys that made this event possible. So, venue. Last year we did it in Ljubljana in the Faculty of Computer and Information Science, and it was great. Also, the party was great. It was so great that the next day even our website went down. So this year we tried to find a better place on the coast side to make this Drupal camp. So we decided to choose Metropole Hotel's conference center, and we got all 5 rooms just for us to use. The Wi-Fi. This is an important thing, you know, for all the Drupal guys and girls. So I hope it's working for you all. If there's a problem, please report it at the reception. And of course, don't abuse it. No torrents or any. Don't try to make a hotspot or anything, you know, with your 3G and Wi-Fi on your phone, because you'll interfere the signal. So the program. This is a 2-day event. We'll have 2 tracks. This is room 1. The room behind me is room 2. We have 21 sessions. So in room 1, the OWS room, there will be mostly sessions. In room 2, there are trainings. So just after this hour at 10:30 a.m., we started with the trainings for the beginners. So you're welcome to go if you're a Drupal beginner or just starting to use it. After the trainings, we go back to the sessions in the room 2 also. And the other rooms are for sprints, buffs, and open trainings. So you can use it free if you want. I mean, anytime if you want to work, if you want to sprint on Drupal project, no problem. Coffee breaks. So yeah. Why there's no coffee right now? So we have 3 coffee breaks. One is just after this session, in 1 hour or less. Another one is a bigger one at lunchtime. So there will be some snacks and fruit and stuff. And the third one is at 4 p.m. So at this time, coffee machines are open, so you can get a tea or a coffee or anything you want. If you want coffee out of this time, you can use the lobby in the hotel's reception. There's a lobby bar, so you can go for a coffee there. Otherwise, we can use those times. And Sunday, we start 30 minutes later, so we have 2 coffee breaks at 11 and then 1:30. Okay, Twitter is one important thing too. This year, as you noticed, we have a wall of sponsors, simulating like a draft of the soccer team. So you can use the t-shirt that's over there and make a photo with yourself and your colleague and tweet using the DC Alpe-Adria hashtag. You can check the tweet wall what's happening, so the images are there all the time. And if you make a good photo, you can get a lot of retweets, so you can win some prizes, of course. Yeah, the official party. So it's today at 9 p.m. in Osteria restaurant, Obala 16, Porter. This is in the center. If there's anyone having troubles finding it, I'm sure that there are going to be some guys going directly from this location at around 6, 7 p.m. So you can join it together and go there. It's like 5 minutes walk from here, maybe 6, okay, but yeah, 5 sounds better. Dinner time, so if anybody fancy a dinner, they can go there at 7 p.m. That's basically just after the event for this day ends. We will be there around 7 p.m. and then after this we start with the party, so we have some tables reserved just for us. There are discounts for drinks, so bring your badges, the name tags, so this stuff you got at the reception. And of course, I wish you a nice Drupal weekend. I hope you'll learn new things, meet new friends, do tweet about Drupal Camp Alpe-Adria using the hashtag. That's important. If you don't use Twitter, use it from now on. All the notifications are going to be there. And it's all about you, that you will make this event awesome. And enjoy Drupal Camp Alpe-Adria. Thank you. So now I'll introduce a colleague from Austria, Josef Dabernig, and he is going to introduce you with his session into Drupal. So welcome, Josef.
So what I will talk about is maybe there's some newcomers that haven't been to a Drupal conference before or that are just interested in learning about the Drupal project. So let's find out about the Drupal success story. Why is it that we all come together? How does the community work? And of course, we will also talk about a little bit about the challenges, but also about the expectations that we have for Drupal 8. And finally, it's all about open source. So it's all about we as a community doing the things together. So we definitely want to engage you with contributing to the project. And this is why we will talk about how you can contribute, how we can work together on Drupal. So my name is Josef Dabernig. I'm on Twitter. I'm everywhere at @dasjo. And I work for Drunomics, an Austria-based Drupal shop. We focus on special Drupal development services. And we are the creators of the Entity API module, the rules module, and much more. So me personally, I started as a site builder back in 2007, trying a little bit out on Drupal 5. But I've worked in different areas, so I'm doing development using Drupal, I'm doing front-end using Drupal, I'm doing site building. And you might know me from the modules Facet API Pretty Path or TU cluster, which allows you to visualize hundreds of thousands of points on a Google map or, in this particular case, on a leaflet map. But what I'm really passionate about is, and I think which is the reason that I'm able to talk here today, is my passion for the Drupal community. And this started back in Central America, where I was starting to engage with grassroots movements around open source. And yeah, this is why I'm really excited to be here. So let's get started and talk a little bit about the success story. Why is Drupal so successful, and what is Drupal actually about? So Drupal, let's start by this. Drupal is an online presence, so it allows us as web developers, as agencies, as individuals, to just create different kinds of web presences. And there's lots of web presences realized using Drupal. So we already power more than 2% of the web. And that number is quite big, actually, because as we all know, the web is quite big, and 2% is quite a successful number already. And what we can use it for is, for example, using it as a publishing platform. So it's a content management system that allows us to structure content, to publish that content. And it's used by big players as The Economist, for example. But it's also a robust search tool. So we have tools like the Search API, Apache Solo integration, which allows us to create like really efficient search experiences. And that's only one integration out of several others. as a discussion platform. So Tuple originally was built as a community platform system, and so, for example, it's used by the Twitter community and lots of other communities to engage with each other. So social publishing is quite big. So it's not only about static sites, but mainly about more advanced use cases where you need users logged in and do something on the website. Multilingual, that's a big thing. So even in that region, I saw that you have like some signs in different languages, and you might, as an agency, you might come to the situation where you have to create a website not only for just one single language, but multiple languages, especially if we work, for example, in tourism. And Drupal is very powerful at that. There's the ability to translate configuration, to translate content, and to even integrate with more advanced translation workflows like the translation management system. And that's also one point why agencies or why we choose Drupal as a platform. Digital libraries, so all the structured data that we can put into Drupal is also used heavily by libraries. So maybe you're familiar with the Biblio module, and there's lots of other ways in order to get all this data in what you need for managing a library, and also realizing the workflows behind it. Or take band launch programs. So MTV has launched several websites using Drupal, and that also let Earl Miles, the creator of the views module, contribute back to the project. So creating views, creating panels was heavily sponsored by those big successful platforms, and it's also a great use case that we can realize something, but we can also create something that others can build upon. And then Drupal is also used for building services. So take the Drupal Rooms service, or Drupal Gardens, which is like a WordPress-like platform where people can just put on a blog or put on a presentation website pretty easily. So Drupal is used quite heavily to build services or even products. So the Drupal Commerce ecosystem is quite popular. And it's like really another framework on top of the Drupal framework in order to create all these flexible e-commerce systems. All right. So we've seen there's a lot built using Drupal, but why are those people choosing Drupal in order to accomplish their tasks? Well, first we have to understand that Drupal is both a CMS and a content management framework. So it's for like a managing system that we can like compare to WordPress or others, but it's also very much a framework like Django that developers choose for. So it's both the functionality that we have in the system in terms of lots of configuration that we can do just as a site builder by clicking through the interface. But at the other hand, the developers can really create other subsystems that we can then connect with each other. So this is like the 2 points where we compare the content management system and the framework. And I think Drupal really does a good job at targeting both of these markets. And I will talk about the other points later. So it's highly configurable, which means that we can adapt the system to do whatever we want. We have seen that we can build presentation websites, we can build community websites. And behind that, we have powerful subsystems as fields, creating content types that really, really quickly allow us to put up all the formula and also to style the presentation of the content without much coding involved. But on the other hand, the developers can use the extensible APIs, can use the hook system, or in Drupal 8 they can use the plugin systems. And in between, there's of course hybrids, because we can also use plugins in Drupal 7. But there's lots and lots of good APIs that developers like, and this is why we can see more than 10,000 modules on Drupal.org in order to download them. So both developers and site builders work together on this. And then we have all the different subsystems. So maybe you've heard about the Entity API, which is like an abstraction on top of creating different kinds of content, managing users, the taxonomy system, or comments. This is all abstracted, and that can be, they are all then fieldable, which is pretty nice. So one of those subsystems, I would say, is like the Entity API, and then on top of it, we can add organic groups in order to put users into different groups and manage access rights, or the rules module in order to automate workflows. We can put web services on top of it in order to expose all the data that's in the system. And of course, we can use the views module in order to dynamically create listings or galleries or calendars. So we have all these powerful subsystems that combined with each other make it a very, very flexible tool. Well, and that's also a challenge, because if you start learning Drupal, you find out about all the subsystems, you find out about all the thousands modules that are available, and you might have a hard time choosing the right one or figuring out how to configure them, because there's no gallery module, like the gallery solution is not there, right? So we all have experienced this problem. But why not just build a distribution? So people putting together the pieces, creating pre-configurations, so that we can realize cool use cases. People can use that as a product as well, like in order to, I am the brand that creates this kind of conference tool, so every time a Drupal shop wonders about creating a conference website, maybe they will hire me. So that's all obviously like a marketing advantage, but on the other hand, for us as developers or as people that are trying to learn about the system, we can learn from the best practices and see how people put those distributions together, sometimes even build upon them. There's even Panoply, like base distribution going on. So check out the distributions if you're curious about learning how you can approach different use cases, or just to find out how Drupal works and what you can do with it. And yeah, that's all open source, that's all on the web, so we can go in if we have the time, we just read through the code, learn about it, or attend trainings. But then we can also find lots and lots of agencies, like in the marketplace. We have seen there are sponsors for this event, so there must be some companies around. And we can find specialized service providers all over the world, which is also a great advantage, because once you pick Drupal as a platform, you're not tied to one single service provider, but you also, as a client, you can always choose, okay, another year, maybe I can migrate to another service provider if I'm not happy with the former anymore. So that's also a big selling point for us to talk to our clients and explain them how open source works and how much more they are not dependent on us as a service provider, but the ability that they have with like almost 1 million, or I guess we almost surpassed 1 million, with so many people from different countries that all contribute to the project, or that at least work with Drupal. I think that's quite an important part, because if there were only 5 people using Drupal on the world, it wouldn't be as powerful and flexible and as well maintained as it is now. Yeah, and this started quite some years ago, so we can see that the Drupal community is constantly growing. And this is just the numbers for Drupal Cons. So the main Drupal conference twice a year, or now 3 times a year already. They started with only 50 attendees, and now the American DrupalCon already surpassed 3,000 attendees, and the European ones also have over 1,500 attendees. So we can see that the system is really taking up globally. Yeah. So I already talked about Drupal being lots of things. It's quite a complex system that's maybe overwhelming initially to some of you. But let's try to sum it up with some slides from Dries of his keynote, which is just about the vision, what is Drupal. And I like those quotes because he's saying that, okay, on a larger scale, Drupal is really changing the world because we are powering so many websites, over 2%. And how we do that? Well, first of all, Drupal was always about the site builder. So everyone can just download the software and put up a website pretty easily. But it's also all the flexibility in there. It's not only about those individuals, but it allows us, like small organizations, NGOs, also pretty cheaply to put up websites. And then, as we target the individuals, the small organizations, but even more recently, also the big enterprises, and we can see that the big enterprises are also trying to standardize on Drupal as their platform. We kind of give them a new idea. We kind of managed already to explain them that open source, it's not something on the playground that will never work, but we have proven that it's possible. Yeah, so we definitely inspire people from all over the world. And one particular thing that I like is that we admit no boundaries. So we always try to reinvent ourselves, and we can see that by the major Drupal release, we always try to invent lots of stuff. That's maybe something sometimes challenging because you have to adapt to new coding standards. You have to adapt, for example, to object-oriented patterns. But this kind of innovation, I guess it's really crucial to the success of the system. And in order to keep up with all other smaller frameworks that may be able to iterate much faster. But I think we are doing a good job at targeting a wide market from individuals to enterprises. Yeah, and we will do that again. So let's see if that works. There is Acquia. From Acquia, there's Jeffrey Chan McGuire. And he gave me some slides that I would like to share with you because what he did is he interviewed people about Drupal and the superheroes. And let's see what they say. Yeah, so he's talking about his kind of view, what is the superpowers in Drupal to him, the massive community of developers out there. And we all know chicks.
My favorite Drupal superpower is bringing all these people together.
So I really like that one because I know chicks from being like very oriented at coding and stuff, but then we can see that what he cares most about is actually the community.
My favorite Drupal superpower is achieving things I could never write in code.
Yeah, so that's the site builder, right? And it really empowers us, or at least those who are not able to program. They can use all these tools and click things together. They wouldn't be able to do without Drupal. And finally, my favorite quote.
My great Drupal superpower is the power to feed my family.
Right, because it's all nice and we have some fun doing websites, but in the end, we have to kind of make money and sustain our families. And obviously, yeah, there's quite a lot of developers all around the world that are able running a business, that are able sustaining their life by creating websites using Drupal. And this is what I really like. Okay, so there was a lot about the Drupal system itself, and now I'm trying to look at you and your expectations for the conference. So let's see who is first time at the Drupal conference, actually. Yeah, that's quite a number. So, and who has already created a patch or a module or something on Drupal.org? Yeah, that's about the same number. So we can see that there's all these different kinds of. Some people are like super active involved, and some people just want to try out the system. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about the community and what. So we have seen Drupal is a lot of things in terms of features, in terms of success stories. But the people behind Drupal actually are individual people, right? Because there's no code monkeys that just generate code for us. It's us as a community that we sit together at conferences, in particular at code sprints, and work on the systems. And we have come a long way. So that was Brussels in 2006. That is Drupal Dev Day Szeged recently. That's only developers, so a conference with more than 300 people, just the developers. And they made great progress on Drupal 8. Yeah, and there's the big Drupal Cons, like the big Drupal conferences. And I have this slide with the quote from Dries Burtert, the founder of the Drupal project. So he says, it's really the Drupal community and not so much the software that makes the Drupal project what it is. So fostering the Drupal community is actually more important than just managing the code base. And I think on a daily basis, we have to remember that we are running a business or we are working on something that is software, but without the people behind the software, it won't be sustainable. So we always have to watch out that we as a community are in a good shape. And yeah, some examples how we do that is like making cookies for each other or just spreading the word by doing graffitis. So we are pretty connected all around the world. And in my introduction, I mentioned my passion for the community, which started when I was working in 2008 in Nicaragua in Central America. I was able to be mentored by some Drupal experts, and they told me how to write a patch. So I was identifying problems in the system, and I already had the skills how to program from university, but I didn't really know how it works in Drupal. And okay, there's a hook system, and all the subsystems look a little bit complicated. So I was really glad to be mentored, for example, by Nigel Rogers. And this created some kind of commitment, which made me travel around Central America, actually twice, doing in total maybe 30 presentations for local user groups in order to talk about the system. And it was really a great way to exchange ideas, and also another form of traveling for me. And there was even a Drupal event at Machu Picchu. So maybe it's also a good excuse. I mean, I think this conference in particular is also a great chance for us to just visit nice places. Yeah, so that's all great, right? And everything is perfect, unicorns. But then we also face challenges. Initially, I told you that, okay, sometimes it's a little bit frustrating to learn Drupal. And this is the learning curve, like scientifically researched learning curve. Yeah. At least it's perceived as being really hard. And there's so much documentation, which is sometimes not perfectly maintained. So we all know these kind of moments where we just feel a little bit overwhelmed. And also from a marketing perspective, take the engineering director, she says, there's too much tribal knowledge required, so we need to learn stuff just in order to be able to do Drupal, but if it's only applicable for Drupal, maybe that's not a good career that I'm taking, because if Drupal in 5 years is not valid anymore, I've learned a hook system that doesn't help me anywhere else, right? So that's one thing, and then all this stuff with deploying config and content, the deployment scenario and the scalability, these are some concerns that are raised. Or front-end developers are also really, really confused sometimes, because the Drupal theming layer, is quite complex to learn. Some front-enders suffer from divitis, which means having just too many divs nested in the markup. Or the small site owners, they're also concerned because building a website in Drupal 7 is quite a challenge if you're interested in having, for example, what you see is what you get functionality. So doing like a mid-range website, it easily requires more than 50 modules, and you have to learn how to combine all those modules together. So these were some challenges that we as a community tried to listen to. And for Drupal 8, excitingly, we have seen also the process shape up. So there were created different initiatives in order to just focus on the configuration management, or to focus just on getting the views module in core, or Gabahoitzi on multilingual, and many other initiatives like Entity Next Generation, the Twig initiative. So there were lots of initiatives, and by splitting up the work into initiatives, people could jump on the project easily. And now we have a lot of new features in Drupal 8 that you should definitely check out, and I hope during the conference it's also a good chance to check out what Drupal 8, the current status of Drupal 8. And what I'm especially excited about is what maybe arose through the discussion of, should we have our own HTTP kernel system, or wouldn't it be nice to look out in the wider PHP area what other people have. So basically, we are shifting by building on top of Symfony, of the Symfony framework, or of parts of the Symfony framework. We are now adapting modern practices in terms of dependency injection, better separation of concerns, using object-oriented code. So we are kind of embracing the latest PHP standards, and we are reusing lots of external libraries instead of doing it our own. So that was the whole thing about getting off the island. And I think when we talked about superpowers, we should also talk about superheroes, because that's Larry Garfield. So he was preaching for architectural changes in Drupal for quite some time. The whole Butler initiative, the whole web services in core initiative was largely pushed by his personality. And if we talk about front end, we have Morten DK and many others that really pushed Twig forward. So there was Chesine working on HTML5, John Albin on the mobile friendliness, and the Twig team does not only consist of Morten, but also Jen Lampton, Kotzer. And it's pretty exciting that they are kind of revolutionizing the front-end experience for Drupal, making it also more accessible for people outside of the Drupal community by leveraging the Twig template system, which is pretty nice. And yeah, I think a shout out is valid for the Multilingual initiative, because it's just so great organized. Gabor really has the ability to mobilize an entire team, and he has lots of contributors on making Drupal 8 better in terms of multilingual features. And then we also have all the core maintainers that are not only fun to be together with, but they are also doing a great job. And this is Jeffrey Chen McGuire, who is not working on code at all, who's not working on Drupal 8 directly, but he's quite a big voice that preaches for Drupal all around the system. So we have all these superheroes. It's good to have them, but we should not forget that there's lots and lots and lots of people in the process which maybe don't have the rockstar visibility, but they are really, really crucial in order to get things forward. A system as complex as Drupal is definitely needs a large initiative or many large initiatives to be sustainable and in order to be able to move forward. So we are pretty excited to surpass the number 2,000 of contributors for Drupal 8 core. This is an older number, but we can see that there's lots of more of new contributors, but also the number of recurring contributors that are not only creating a single patch but creating multiple patches has raised significantly thanks to the better processes that we now have in Drupal 8. And that leads me to the case for core contribution. Well, it's like one possibility that you can take into account in order to be successful in Drupal is being part of this 0.05%. So it's a very low number of people that actually contribute. It's obviously a bigger number that just use the system. And the reason why you should consider that is you get more visibility and people will recognize your name if you work on the project and if you try to help out. It's like more kind of social trust. And then you run into problems, and I found myself obviously in the situation where I didn't know how to tackle a certain problem. And then if I know some people, or if I have a Twitter account where I have some followers, I have more chance to get feedback and to get help with the problems that I'm facing on a regular basis. Even if I'm not like myself, I'm not famous for core contributions, but maybe my other projects or presenting at conferences. It also helps you to learn faster and save time and money. So working on Drupal itself makes you familiar with all the subsystems, allows you to get into the internals of the system, and that in the future will allow you to estimate your projects more accurately. Yeah, and in the end, for the people that employ you, they will be visible as people funding Drupal core or famous modules. So both you will get more people that want you implement stuff because you're popular for working on those essential modules. And also the developers right now, they are quite flexible. Wherever they want to go, they can basically go because everyone is hiring good Drupal developers. So as an agency, you kind of have to compete with others in order to get the good developers. And obviously, you will attract the good ones if you allow them to contribute some time on working on Drupal core or on working on their own projects. And it also keeps your finger on the pulse of Drupal. So when you're in this loop in the project of developing for Drupal, you will be able to kind of shape the future of the system, and you will also be up to date. And not only people will trust you, but like this kind of stronger voice in the project also allows you to raise concerns or to as I've said, to shape the future, right? So this is why I think core is the best way to learn. Yep. And what we have to learn is sometimes a little bit overwhelming. So if we are curious about what is required in order to work on Drupal or with Drupal, we have this community thing, so we have to know how the community works, how to engage with each other. Okay, there's the issue queue and so on. We have to know about content management, site building, or know the theming layer, coding stuff, and also managing servers. So this may be a little bit intimidating, and you might feel like, okay, I have to be this smart, but actually not. And we've seen that that people can really go through the process, and oftentimes we just start by filing. Or let me go into that later. So is that a contributor? Neither. But what a contributor actually is, so there is some problem, and this problem is identified in terms of it bugs you, right? So for example, you're using the views module, and the Ajax refresh doesn't work. You find out about it, and you think, okay, I don't like this problem, and I want to see it fixed. And then finally, you also need to be able to do something about it. And these people actually power open source. And I think the last point, being able to do something about it, it doesn't mean that you're able to fix the problem directly, but that you are able to leverage the process, just reporting the problem, helping it get fixed, finding people that can fix it. So this is how we work, and this is how we can be successful on the Drupal system. And of course, initially it's quite scary to work with the superheroes or to tackle these kind of hard problems that are out there. And this is why the Drupal community has quite some effort on mentoring. So there's core mentoring hours available, there's sprints available, and especially at conferences like this, you can just go to a sprint. For example, if you're interested in working on the rules module, just come to our sprint today. Yeah. And finally, remember, even if there's some problems that you don't like and you think like, okay, something really sucks, and why does nobody fix it? Well, if nobody fixes it, it's because we are a bureaucracy. So stuff only gets done when people do it. We cannot expect somebody else to fix our own problems, but we have to find other ways to do so. And I think that's like crucial to be effective at contributing. Knowing how to tackle the problems right, knowing how to work in the community online, figuring out the mechanics of the issue queue, which initially also like frightened me off, and the Drupal core issue queue still is a little bit scary. And this is why we have the initiatives, right? So what qualifies as a contribution? It's not only writing code, but that's obviously something that we need because the software is code. But around creating our software, there's lots of other ways to contribute. So throwing money on it is definitely a very good suggestion that I have, because there's lots of people that want to work more on the open source part of things, but if we only pay them for client work, the software is not maintained properly. So if you're able, try to figure where you can donate stuff in order to get things moving on. There's also now a GitHub team account for Drupal core, where we can, for example, pay $10 per week in order to get Drupal core moving forward. Or just help out on the marketing part, coordinating events like the team here does. helping out with the issue queue, working on translations. There's really so many things that we can do in order to work on the project. And a good way to get started, I think, is sprints. So sprints are kind of focused contribution events where we just sit together and get things done, which is obviously more fun than just sitting at home at our computers and working through the issue queue. So events like this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also sprints related to this event. Yep. Monday, Tuesday? Yeah, so Monday, Tuesday, if you still have time and if you're still around, consider going to the code sprint or just join us for the training. Because if you want to go quickly, you can obviously go alone, but if you want to go far, we have to go together. And by this, I'd like to invite you to do whatever you're good at. Keep on with the Drupal project, and yeah, I'm happy to take your questions, and thank you for your listening.